Hello race fans, welcome back to another week of Daily Fantasy NASCAR. I'm Chris Durrell, I'm here for dailyfantasysportsrankings.com, rotoballer.com, and rotopros.com to bring you my picks and analysis for the Coca-Cola 600 this week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's the longest race of the season at 600 miles. We got 400 laps, split into 4 100-lap stages. And so what I'm going to do here in this video is just kind of go over how to open my cheat sheet that you see in front of you, and how to make your own copy, make your own model, and then go over some of my top picks. So over at dfsr.com, what you can do on the home page is go down and click on Other. You're going to see there's my podcast there, so you can listen to that as well. But you can click on the article here. It comes out about midweek, Wednesday, Thursday usually. I kind of go over some race trends as well as some pre-qualifying picks. And then right at the bottom of the article, you can click on this link here or the link here, and it will open a copy of the cheat sheet itself. Over on rotoballer.com, on the main page, you can go over to More, click on NASCAR. That's going to take you to the NASCAR articles, most recent at the top, obviously. There you see the Coca-Cola 600. So you can click on that. This article comes out after qualifying and practice, so it's going to be the picks are going to be a little bit more accurate to what I'm actually looking at rostering this week. So you can read that through, and then right there at the bottom, you can see DFS NASCAR Cheat Sheet. On rotopros.com, if you're a member, you can head over to articles, go through the article, same thing as the Rotoballer article. You'll be able to read my picks post-qualifying, post-practices, and then at the bottom of the article you will also find the link to this cheat sheet. So, first things first, what you're going to want to do is go up to File. Once you open it, make a copy, name it whatever you'd like there, click OK. And it's going to open your own. As you can see here, I opened one copy of DFS NASCAR Cheat Sheet. So what that's going to help you to do is, first of all, you're going to be able to sort columns. So if you want to sort, it's always going to be sorted by DraftKings. So if you're playing on FanDuel, you want to sort by FanDuel salary. Click anywhere on any one of those salaries in the FanDuel column F. Go up to Data, sort Z to A, which would be highest to lowest. And now all the drivers are going to be sorted by FanDuel salary, as you see there. So a couple things I do kind of early in the week before any practice or qualifying goes on, when I'm doing my DFS article, especially as I'm looking back at the trends from the racetrack, is I'll go to current track history, which is the last 2 years, which is 4 races, because there are 2 races here at Charlotte. You got the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend, and then you've also got the second race, which comes in the playoffs. So I'll come here, and a couple things I'll do is I'll either sort by average finish over the last 2 years, 4 races. So kind of see the drivers that have been doing well. As you can see, Martin Truex Jr. He's won 2 of the last 4 races here. Top 10 in 3 of the last 4. He's led 716 laps for an average of 118.6 DraftKings, 94.6 FanDuel points per race, which is pretty darn good. So one thing to kind of pick out here when looking at some of this data, as you can see, Matt Kenseth, he's only led 5 laps in the last 4 races. So he's only averaging 51.6 DraftKings points per race, even though he's averaging 6.0 average finish. But as you can see over on FanDuel, he's a much better play. So any driver that you find that maybe it doesn't fit your Dominator model this week, or any week for that matter, but is starting top 10, you think he's going to finish top 10, showing a pretty good car, it's going to be a better play over on FanDuel. So that's kind of how I decipher that data. So then you can look at career track history, track type history. So for instance, let's look at the 2018. We've had 4 races on 1.5 mile track so far this year. Kevin Harvick has absolutely dominated them. He's won 3 of the 4 races. Kyle Busch has won the other, and in that race that Kyle Busch won at Texas, Kevin Harvick finished runner-up. So he's averaged 117.7 DraftKings points per race. He's led 561 laps in those 4 races this year, so he's been a pretty good dominator. 86.5 FanDuel point average as well. So it's a little bit closer to the field looking at FanDuel, just because dominator points aren't quite as important as they are on DraftKings. So then you can also look at current form. I usually don't weigh current form too much because you got a lot of different track types in there. You got short tracks. You got I think Talladega still in the last 6 races there as well. So you got a bunch of different tracks in there. So don't really weigh that too much. And then you can kind of look at season stats as well. How many wins, top 5s, 10s, laps led, DK, and FanDuel average for the entire season. And then the most important data that I find once practice and qualifying starts is here. So this week we had practice 1 on Thursday, followed by qualifying on Thursday as well. So practice 1 I'll usually not weigh at all, because especially when it comes before qualifying, just because most of the cars are going to be working on their qualifying trim, trying to get a good lap, get a good qualifying position, not really working on race trim too much, so that data can kind of be a little bit muddy, I guess you could say. So then this morning, which is Saturday morning, the first practice on Saturday morning was rained out, so we only got final practice data this week, and then we got final practice 10 lap averages, and then I got qualifying practice differential. So that's kind of just looking at final practice speeds versus qualifying position, just to see if there's any place differential value that we need to look at this week. So then the next thing you can do over in this orange section, this is the model. I kind of changed the colors this week just to kind of match the colors over when looking at the data over here. So we got dark green, which is current track history, career track history, a little bit lighter green, then lighter green yet is going to be the track type history. Then you got blue with current form and season form, just so you can kind of pick that out a little bit easier. So these numbers above are kind of the weights I'm putting on those in my model. So that's something that you can do, is you can go and erase these numbers. So if you're playing FanDuel, you might want to move this 20 over to FanDuel, this 15 over to FanDuel, this 10 over to FanDuel, just to kind of give you a better idea of what the drivers are going to look like in your model for playing on FanDuel, because it's going to be a little bit different scoring. So that's one thing you can do there. And by doing that, you want these numbers here at the top to add up to 100. So you're going to see that change as you change any of these numbers. So for instance, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to erase that. We're going to put that over on FanDuel. Put that over on FanDuel. Take that 20 and put it over on FanDuel. As you can see, those numbers are changing the whole time. Down to 90. So we want to change. Just got the formula wrong here a little bit. So there we go. We're back to 100. And you can see it changed up a little bit here when looking at the model. So that's something that is going to change obviously between the two sites, so just pay attention there. So if you have any questions, definitely hit me up anytime. I can help you out with making your own models and how to use that data. So the other thing I kind of look at before the week kind of gets going a little bit is I've got the data for the last 6 races in here. So you can kind of go through the 2017 playoff race and then the 2017 Coca-Cola 600, and then at the bottom of all those results you can see the fantasy scoring to the right there. We've got here, and a couple things I look at is how many drivers lead 100 or more laps. So as you can see, there's been one driver, there's been 2 at the 2016 playoff race, but one driver at least in every race in the last 6 to lead 100 laps in the race, and there's been at least 2 drivers to lead 50 plus laps. And then once you start looking, I didn't add it this week, but drivers to lead 200 plus laps, it's happened 3 times. Twice at the Coca-Cola 600. So Dominator is definitely going to be something we're going to be looking at this week. And kind of getting into the picks here, one thing I want to mention is that Kevin Harvick, he's going to be my top pick here this week. He's going to probably be 75-80% owned just because he didn't make it through pre-qualifying tech this week. So he'll be starting from the rear. And as you can see when we go and look at the practice qualifying data here, he's a minus 22, starting 39th. So he's got a lot of place differential value. And listening to some interviews after qualifying, Joey Logano and Kyle Busch mentioned that is probably their guesses between 50 and 100 laps, which is the first stage, that Kevin Harvick's going to be popping into the top 5. So there is a chance this week that Kevin Harvick could pick up elite place differential value, like say if he finishes 9th, he's going to get 30 place differential points. Now, if he's got the car to get up front, which he's shown all season on these mile-and-a-half tracks, if he gets up front and leads laps as well, he has a great opportunity, maybe even leading 50-plus laps. And if he's going to, if he was to win the race, plus get those 38 place differential points, he's going to score a lot of points this week. So that's one of the reasons why he's going to be highly owned. Now for GPPs, if I'm doing 20 lineups this week, which I will be, what I'm probably going to do is get him in, say, 15 of the lineups, build 15 lineups around Harvick, and then those other 5, I'm probably going to go ahead and fade them, just in case there's a crash or something, because you're going to eliminate 75-80% of the field by not rostering Kevin Harvick. You can go down to, say, Kyle Busch or Martin Truex Jr., other drivers that you think maybe dominate or, finish good when looking at the fantasy points this week. I'm going to go back and sort by DraftKings. That's a site that most of us play. And outside of Harvick, a couple of the place differential guys that I'm looking at this week are Clint Bowyer, his teammate. He's starting 28th. Now, he came out in final practice today. He finished 6th in final practice, 9th in 10-lap averages. So it kind of looks like he's got a top 10 car. The only issue with him and a little bit of risk there is that his price is getting up there, plus the fact that he hasn't finished top 10 at Charlotte since I believe it was the Coca-Cola 600 back in 2013. So it's been about 6 straight races where he has not finished inside the top 10 here at Charlotte. But starting 28th, I think we can definitely take that risk with him. Chase Elliott starts 22nd. He was 12th in final practice. Showed a good long run car, 4th in the 10 lap averages. We're just going to go have a look. Going to go over to Racing Reference here, and I've got this sorted by, if you go up to Fantasy and click on that, you can actually pick how many races you want to look at. So I picked the last 6, which is the last 3 years. And I'm just going to pull up Chase Elliott. There he is there. So his last 6 races here at Charlotte. Just wait for this data to load. 18th, 8th, 33rd, 38th, and then in the playoff race last year he finished 2nd. So kind of trending in the right direction for him, and starting 22nd, I think he presents a lot of value there when looking at place differential points. Finally, the last guy in place differential is going to be AJ Allmendinger. He's starting 30th. Practice speeds maybe didn't look overwhelming. 23rd in the first practice, which I'm not really weighing. 26th in final practice. He didn't run any 10 lap averages, but he's 6,400 on DraftKings. And what else stood out to me is that he has finished top 20. I'm just going to bring up Allmendinger here. Top 20 in 2 straight and 4 of his last 5 races here at Charlotte, and he was in a crash in that one race that he did, and he finished 37th in the playoff race in 2016. So a lot of good things to look at for AJ Allmendinger this week. The Chevys have been struggling. He hasn't been terrific this year, but at 6,400 with, even if he picks up 10 place differential points this week, it's enough to pay off his salary for sure. Dominator's a little bit tough this week. You got Kyle Busch starting on the pole, but he didn't show much speed in final practice. So I think there's a chance that we can maybe fade Kyle Busch's high price this week. 2 guys that I do like in that 10K plus range on DraftKings are Kyle Larson and Joey Logano. Larson started in 11th, but he was 2nd in final practice in both 1 lap and 10 lap averages. So that's good to see there. I can see him, within 20 laps getting up front, and he looks like he's got a good long run car that he'll be able to get up front. He could be one of those drivers that leads 100 plus laps. Joey Logano is another one I'm looking at. He started on the front row beside Busch. I think he can get ahead of Busch early on, especially if we have like a 20-30 lap green flag run right off the start. He's got a top 5 car in 1 lap and 10 lap averages in the final practice today, so he's another one that I'll be looking at. Denny Hamlin, even cheaper, I think deserves some Dominator love this week. He's starting 3rd, so back there in the 2nd row. He's top 5 in both 1 lap and 10 lap averages as well. So between those 3, I think they can get up and lead some laps. This could be a week where we see 3 or 4 drivers lead 50 or more laps. I think we may see 1 driver lead 100 plus laps. Depends on who makes the right adjustments during the race, but I think we're going to see 3 or 4 drivers lead 50 to 100 laps each. And the other guy that I'm kind of looking at, he's number 1 in my model right now, is Eric Jones. He's starting 4th, so he's on that 2nd row as well. But he showed a really fast car. He was top 5 in the first practice, so it was no surprise that he qualified 4th. But then in final practice on Saturday in race trim, he was 1st in 1 lap and 1st in 10 lap averages. So he's got a fast car, bit of a wild card, young driver, not a whole bunch of experience. It's a long race, but he's got the car to do it. So I think he could get up front and be one of those drivers with Larson and Logano and Hamlin that could lead 50 to 100 laps here in this race. Again, Kevin Harvick, I think, is kind of an outside chance of getting up front and leading some laps too, along with his elite place differential value too. So GPP play that I like kind of in this range, because I think all of those guys that I've already mentioned here in the 8K plus range on DraftKings are going to take a bunch of ownership. It's going to leave Ryan Blaney pretty cheap, starting 8th. He's showed he's got a top 10 car. Now, I don't think he's going to get... I don't think he's kind of got that Dominator potential with those other 4 drivers showing some good long-run speed on their cars, and going to lead maybe 50 to 100 laps each, possibly. But and for that reason alone, I like him a lot better on FanDuel. So he's going to be a FanDuel play for me, because I think he can definitely finish top 10 starting from that 8th position, and that's a little bit more important when looking at fantasy scoring over on FanDuel. Same goes for Brad Keselowski. I didn't highlight him here, but he's starting 5th. I could see him. Looks like he's probably got like a 5th to 8th place car kind of thing to make the right adjustments during the race. So another guy I'll be looking at rostering on FanDuel. And scrolling down a bit, I talked about Daniel Suarez in my preview article. He has been pretty good here in his short career. We're just going to bring up him as well. He's got the 2nd best average finish over those last 6 races. He does only have 2 races here. Started 20th, finished 11th, started 14th, finished 6th. So pretty good here. He's shown that he's pretty good. He is starting 10th. He did lose some speed in final practice. I think they can make adjustments and still get inside that top 10, right around that 12th position. He's a guy I'm also going to be looking at on FanDuel as well. Casey Kane works on both sites. He's top 10 in the model. Kind of mention Casey Kane seems like every week because he doesn't qualify very good and he shows speed in practice, but he was 26th starting position this week. He was 9th in the 1 lap average, so he got a good short run car. Kind of the wild card here is he was only 23rd in the 10 lap averages, kind of right near the back. There's only 26 cars that had 10 lap averages in that final practice, so I'm not going to have a whole bunch of him. It's probably not going to be high owned, but in 20 laps I may have 2 or 3 on each site of Casey Kane. Going down a bit more, kind of in that punt zone, in the sub 6K range, there's really only 2 guys I'm looking at right now. Matt DiBenedetto starting 31st, 27th in practice, and we're just going to kind of go look at his. So he's starting 31st, and in his last 6 races, he's finished top 25, 2 of the last 3, and top 30 in 3 of the last 5 races here. He was in a crash at the Coca-Cola 600 last year, so that kind of sways that a little bit, but he's definitely one I'm going to be looking at punting with. And again, it's kind of in that Casey Kane range where I'm not going to roster a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to be loading up on that guy. I'd rather have more AJ Allmendinger than Matt DiBenedetto or Casey Kane. But DiBenedetto's a nice one that you can kind of fit in there just to kind of change things up. And if there is some crashes and he doesn't get caught up in one of them, that could also help his place differential a little bit there as well. And the other guy's Landon Castle. So as you can see, he's finished top 30 in 4 straight races here, top 25 in 3 of them, and he is starting 35th this week, and he's only 5,300. So he ranks among the drivers below 6K. Matt DiBenedetto and then Landon Castle are your top guys looking at my model. And this is a FanDuel model that I set right now. So definitely guys I'll be looking at on both sites under 6K. And in a couple of them, I'm probably going to go stars and scrubs. And, you know, probably go Allmendinger, DiBenedetto, and Castle. So that concludes the picks for this week. A couple things I'm looking at. You can also go down here. I'll finish filling this out a little bit later today. You can go to the targets, and you'll just see all the targets here if you're wondering who I was talking about, because this is a copy of my sheet. But the main sheet will have my targets filled out a little bit later today. If you got any questions, definitely head over to rotoballer.com, and at the bottom we've got a comment section, chat box here. Daily Fantasy Sports Rankings. You can come down here into the comment section. You can join the member chat room over on RotoPros. You can jump into the RotoPros Slack channel if you're a member. And then the other one is you can hit me up on Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9 and ask any questions you want there. And then tomorrow, just a note for the RotoPros guys, I'm going to be doing a live pre-lock show in the afternoon, probably about 2 hours before lock. So if you do have other questions, I will be sharing that link on my Twitter account as well as the RotoPros Slack channel. And you can join me in there and ask any questions that you have if you're when finalizing your lineups and stuff like that. So that's about it for this week. Good luck, and let's see some green screens, everybody.